How are you, everyone? Now, did you know that in a human, the rate of aging slows down when they hit the age 30 to 35? Now, even though I lied just now, I wish it could have been a lie that someday becomes true. Because being here after almost 10 years, I feel so old. And it certainly brings back so many memories. And one such memory is me sitting over there. Now, I know those days, we just had a very long day of lectures. And the only reason that you climb up all the way to this room is not for me. It's not because of the things that's happening inside the room, but the refreshments that's being served outside. That's what was true for me. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'll try to make this session interesting as much as possible, but at any point, if you feel like you are feeling sleepy, just raise your hand and ask me a random question. I want this to be rather a discussion rather than me telling you things for 40 minutes straight. Right? Got it? Don't just nod heads. Say something. You got it? Yes. Perfect. Right. So, do you know what are we going to discuss today? Does anyone know? So today we are going to discuss about finding. Today we are going to discuss about finding yourself. Right. But before finding ourselves, let me take you back some years back. Now it was the year 2009 and I was done with my O-levels and I got a chance to attend to a science conference in Kandy. Now when it comes to Kandy, everyone knows that Kandy is quite famous for beautiful. Kandy is quite famous for beautiful. Come on, tell me. Places, yes. Now on the third day on that conference, we got a chance to attend to a research demonstration done by the students at that institute. Now when I was stepping into the hall, I saw a very beautiful lady with an hourglass figure. And I forget everything and I just straight away walked into her to see what she was doing. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, it was instant love. I fell in love. Not with her, but with what she was doing. She was controlling the computer with her mind. Now for you guys, it might not be such a big deal. You get EEG signals, you process it, you do some AI and you do some ML and you get an output. It's a pretty simple thing these days. But for me, on those days, that era was almost at the end of the era where phones have buttons. And the computer monitors has a big bulby CRT tube behind them. So for me as a child, that thing, what she was doing was pure magic. Something straight out of movies. And that's when I decided that I want to learn about how to do this. I was so fascinated about how all these electronic components interact with our body, how you get signals, how you process them, and how you make it into a product that works. I was curious about the whole process. And just like you must have assumed, I followed that beautiful lady 2 years after into the same University of Peradeniya. Now, just like now, even those days Peradeniya was a very beautiful place with a lot of attractive options. In addition to all the attractive girls, there were attractive subjects or specializations as well. But when I got into the Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering, I was confused for a bit. Now, I thought biomedical engineering was the coolest subject ever. But to my dismay, there were some other subjects that were more attractive to others than biomedical engineering. There was power, where you get to have a job in CEP, be, have a comfortable life thereafter. And then there is telecommunication, where you go to dialogue or SLD or anything like that. And then there is robotics, there is automation, all these attractive subjects. Everyone in my batch was choosing these attractive subjects. And I was the only odd duck. But I wanted to become a biomedical engineer. So much that I decided, even though there was no such specialization in our department, I decided to follow just that. Now you must be wondering, why am I telling this? Now ladies and gentlemen, let me share you a secret. Because everything that you do from this point onwards depends on your reason for being interested in biomedical engineering. Now my question here is, why do you want to become a biomedical engineer? I need at least 5 answers from the audience. So let's start. Sir? It's a niche market, okay? This side? As humans, we feel that, right? Okay, madam? You don't want to become a biomedical engineer? That's fine. Just tell me. You are enthusiastic, you're curious about that. Okay, alright. Anyone from this side? Come on. Okay, the lady in the blue. No reason. Okay, that's fine. Now, when we were small kids, our parents used to ask, my parents used to ask, when you become big, who do you want to be? And I always tell, without skipping a beat, I wanted to be a doctor. I want to be a doctor. I really did not want to be a doctor. I didn't even knew what you have to do to become a doctor, because I was this height. I was just a few years old then. Now, when we were kids, we tell things to our parents about our ambitions, but they are not really believable. We don't even believe in them sometimes. But now, you all are adults. You all have been university undergraduates. In few years' time, you are going to step out to the world and you have to survive on your own. So all your expectations needs to be very realistic, right? So for an example, I want to do this job because biomedical engineering is generally considered as a white-collar job that usually gets a good salary. So I want to get a good salary, do a white-collar job, have a nice life, have a nice family life, and settle down. That's a realistic expectation. That's fine. That's totally fine. Everyone here doesn't need to be academics or lecturers or professors or everything. So I'm telling you this inside the university, we have to set ourselves realistic expectations. So it's very important that you figure out what you want. Now, a couple of days back, I met a young gentleman. When I got to talk with him, I found out that he was an undergraduate, a second-year undergraduate at a private university. But even though he's an undergraduate, he's currently working at a biomedical startup company as a full-time employee. Right? So imagine, he's a second-year undergraduate, but he's working full-time as an employee in a biomedical startup, a very popular, very established, very big biomedical startup right here in Sri Lanka. Now imagine, now that person has found the purpose, who he wants to be. That purpose has found some sort of a target, and he is planning himself to be put into that target at some day. Now when you guys pass out from the university versus that guy pass out of the university, who do you think that people would prefer more? And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, you need to come to this realization as soon as possible. Because the sooner you come to this realization, why you want to do biomedical engineering or why you do not want to do biomedical engineering, the better chance that you have, the better time, more time that you have to plan each and every step in your career. All good? You all look scared, right? Now, after figuring out why you want to do biomedical engineering or why you want to become biomedical engineer, these are some of the general pathways that you can take. Now, there might be different places, different things that is not there in this stream, but these are the most popular and generic things. So you can almost always go to industry, and then there is academia, and then there is a place where you can start your own thing. But when it comes to industry, in Sri Lankan context, there are 3 types of companies that does biomedical engineering. Number 1, they design and manufacture their own devices in-house and market them. There are companies like that. For an example, Effective Solutions, Synergen Technology Labs, Verox Labs, Loons Lab. I don't know why all of them have labs after their name, but for some reason that's there. So there are companies that does designing, manufacturing, marketing all by themselves, and there are companies, for an example, Effective Solutions recently acquired FDA certification, one of the toughest medical device regulations in the world for one of their medical devices. So there are successful companies like that in Sri Lanka. And the second type of company is one who does contract manufacturing. Now they don't do their own designs, but they take somebody else's design, but they do have the facilities, the machinery, and the regulated, highly regulated environment to manufacture things. There are companies like that in Sri Lanka as well, who does specifically medical device manufacturing. For an example, Vario Systems, GPV. Those are some of the companies that does contract manufacturing of medical devices. And then there is a third kind. The third type of company is the companies who import medical devices from other countries, and they distribute, market, repair, and maintain all those devices within Sri Lanka. So those are the 3 types of companies when it comes to industry in Sri Lankan context. When you go out of Sri Lanka, there are some other service type companies, but I believe that I'm trying to focus my attention on Sri Lankan context. And academia, I don't think I really need to tell you guys, because either way you might have a better resource person than me, because Dr. Ruan and there are people like that in this very department who might be able to guide you much more comprehensively on research path or academic path when it comes to biomedical industry. But let me tell you something, when it comes to research and academia, biomedical industry is like hot lava cake. Everyone wants to do something medical. Everyone wants to solve the problem in medical industry. Whether you do AI, ML, or automation, robotics, everyone at the end of the day, most of them, application becomes something in healthcare. That's a trend that we have seen for the last few years. Right. Again, startup, not an easy pathway to take, but it's highly rewarding because you get to experience the whole pathway of designing, manufacturing, marketing, repairing, maintaining, everything, and also you get to be your own boss. Mean that you don't have to get up at 8 AM in the morning all the time. Right. If you do have any questions at any point, just raise your hand and ask me. Now, it's a big list, I know. It's terrifying, daunting, it's very scary. These are the subspecialties that I could find through, I think, Grok. It was not ChatGPT, actually it was Grok's research module. So these were the subspecialties in biomedical industry that you can generally find. So as you can see, there's a lot, right? Why? Because biomedical engineering is a multidisciplinary field. Now let me tell you an example. Now, back in a few years back, I had an opportunity to work with an NGO, and when I went to the interview, now I was an electrical and electronic engineering, advertising myself as an electronic engineer specialized in biomedical applications. So when I went to the interview, there was an Indian lady, and I sat there, and can you guess what's the first question that she asked from me? With the Indian accent, I can't do the accent, but Dhananjaya, do you know AutoCAD and layout design? Now I was a bit confused. I checked my phone whether I have come to the right place, And I was panicking because I thought this was a biomedical engineering job, but this lady is asking about AutoCAD, something that usually civil engineers use or mechanical engineers are using. So what's going on? Unfortunately, I was able to talk my way through that question and I got the job. Unfortunately, I had to learn AutoCAD just after receiving the job. Why? Because my job was to modify and upgrade the laboratories in government hospitals in Sri Lanka. Now, when it comes to modifying laboratories, you need to be able to design the layouts of the laboratory, upgrade their existing designs, and take care of the plumbing issues, take care of the electrical wiring and design those things. So you have to do a lot of things that you never learned in the university. I had to learn a lot. Now it turns out that you can't really build a hospital or a healthcare institution in the same way that you build a house. Department to department, it changes. For an example, when it comes to an ICU, there's a certain height from the floor where your plug points need to be placed. There's a certain water pressure, there's a certain HVAC system specification that you need to take care of when it comes to ICU, surgical theaters, things like that. So you need to learn a lot of things, but you can't do everything within 4 years of time, right? It's not practical, it's not realistic. So what I want you to do is find your niche. From plethora of subspecialties, I'm pretty sure there might be a couple of things that you might be interested in. And once you figured out what you want to do, then you can select all these electives and everything, all the subjects and everything. And that is exactly what I did. Now when I was doing biomedical engineering, when I wanted to do biomedical engineering, there was no such specialization in our department. I believe till today we don't have that kind of a thing, right? Okay, perfect. Not perfect, it's sad, but it's okay. So what I did was, I did internships, I did projects, and most importantly, I aligned all my elective subjects and all the core subjects to complement the things that I wanted to do. For an example, in my case, I was interested in biomedical instrumentation and signal processing aspects. So I choose all subjects that complements that part. That was exactly what I did. So you also, I mean, it's not really strict to do all the things. You also have to filter out and figure out. Okay, now this is something that you have to do. One of the first big decisions that you have to make during your undergraduate period. Is there someone who has already gone to internships? Raise your hands, please. I'm giving you physical activities because you look sleepy. Raise your hands higher and higher and higher, please. Right. So there are few people who has already gone to internship, but you guys have 2 internships, right? You have completed everything. Okay, that's bad, but okay. Again, so when it comes to internships, you can do internships in various places if you want to become a biomedical engineer. Now, hospitals, an obvious choice. Companies, again, I explained the companies, type of companies that we see in Sri Lanka. So you can select either one of those companies, and then you can join as a research intern as well. I don't know the situation about University of Peramania, but I know for a fact that University of Jayawardenepura and University of Moratuwa has these research opportunities as internships, where they run foreign grant projects funded by foreign grants, and their objectives are quite different because they are not really doing research. They are mostly doing research commercialization, because they take an existing research and they try to commercialize them. So I was a part of that kind of a research few years back as well, and you get to learn a lot of things by doing that part there as well. Now again, I have a story. It was during my first job. Now, one day, just after 1 year on my first job, I suddenly one day got a call from a doctor, the consultant anesthesiologist. Does anyone know who that person is? one who takes, one who puts you to sleep during the surgery. Okay, and keep you alive during the surgery. And also, sadly in Sri Lanka, he does another job. When you come out of the surgery, when you are in the ICU, he's the one who takes care of all your ventilation related issues. Right? All your breathing related issues is the one, he or she is the one who takes care of those things. So I got a call from this lady doctor, and she was asking me about a ventilator and how to use them, and how to use them in small children, neonatals, the babies who are prematurely born, small little kids. So just because of her inquiry, now she was calling me, she kept calling me for a couple of days, several days, and she wanted me to come at some point, she wanted me to come to the hospital and visit her and meet her. Now I went to the hospital, I went there into the neonatal ICU where little babies were kept inside the incubators. Now when I was trying to meet her, she was really stressed. And after some time I figured out why. There was a small baby in one incubator who was struggling to breathe. And unfortunately, one of our ventilators was the culprit. So what has happened was that when it comes to small babies, pretty small babies, like they might like this size, okay? So when it comes to small babies, their breaths are very small, 5 milliliter, 10 milliliter, that was the normal range. So the normal sensitivity of a ventilator is not really enough to measure the breath of such a baby. So we use a special sensor called proximity sensor, and when it comes to that particular equipment, the proximity sensor usually comes as one-time use. You use it for one time, you throw it out, you destroy it. But since we are living in Sri Lanka, right? Sri Lankan people being Sri Lankans, we are very cheap people. We don't want to spend money on proximity sensors. So those buggers have been using the same proximity sensor again and again after sterilization. And when I went there, the sensor was not working, obviously. And the child was struggling. And the doctor was panicking. And I was scared for my life. Because I could see the machine was not working and machine was triggering, and I was helpless. Because I didn't have a sensor with me, I didn't know the problem before visiting that hospital. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what does this experience tells me? Because this particular experience taught me a lot. As a biomedical engineer, at some point in your career, if you want to become a successful, good biomedical engineer, no matter where you end up, you need to have this exposure on real ground with reality. Because whatever the service, whatever the medical device that we comes up with, the people who use it at the end of the day is gonna be either patients or the doctors. And if you do not have any clue about what's happening on the ground, because we can create the perfect medical device that works perfectly under laboratory conditions. But when that medical device comes to a place like Sri Lanka, things go wrong. Things can go wrong. That exposure is a must. You need to get yourself inside a hospital, work in a hospital, or work in a company that deals with hospital. I don't know, there are many ways that you can get this experience, but at some point, if you want to do biomedical engineering, you need to have this on your resume. Or at least not on your resume, but have this exposure. Right. Interviews. Now, does anyone know what this company is? Anyone? You guys does not have auditory problems, right? You can perfectly hear me. You can perfectly speak, right? Right, what's this company? Come on, guys. Netflix, right? So, Netflix had a very weird tradition at the start of that company. They did not hire any intern, any college graduate fresh out of the university. any junior engineer, they did not hire anyone on that spectrum. They only hired senior engineers. For few years, just after starting this company, senior engineers were the only employees in Netflix. Now this tells us something. Now, Netflix is a multi-billion-dollar company. One of the top companies in the world, one of the best streaming services, most valued streaming services in the world. These industry people, they value the projects that you have done and the experience that you have. Now, you all get an academic qualification when you passed out from the university. That's fine. You are one from many. But what makes you stand out is these things. The projects that you have done, the experience that you have. The more projects that you have on your resume, the higher chance that you gonna get recruited, whether it is industry or academic. It is true for everyone. So try to do, if you want to become, if you are interested in biomedical engineering, if you want to get hired as a biomedical engineer, try to do more projects. I know you get projects within the course itself, because if I can remember correctly, for us, Janaka Vijayaguru is still in the department, right? He had a very nasty relationship with our vacations. Every vacation we get a project from him between semesters. Is it true for you guys as well? Yes, okay, fine. So the tradition is continuing. So now I had one of my friends, my first year roommate, and he was not an electrical and electronics engineer, he was a computer engineer. And today he's working on a very popular company, earning a very high salary. And I went to his wedding and I asked him, Ashang, how did you get selected to this company? Because it was not your typical company, not your typical organization, it's very hard to get into that company. So what he told me was, now I know for a fact that being the first year roommate, his academic transcript was not that glorious. So what he told me was, Machan, if my CV was like this, my academic qualifications were like this. All the rest, I did projects. I did projects for each and everything, and whenever the interviewer asked me a question, I have a project to complement that answer with. So that's what he has done throughout his second, third, fourth years. And expectations. Now this is something that is really important. Now hopefully by this time you have figured out what you want from being a biomedical engineer, why you want to become a biomedical engineer. So now you have a goal, and by this time, when it comes to interview, there is always room for negotiation. Now let me share my experience, because when I tried to interview for my first job, they were trying, it was a medical device import and distribution company, so they had a lot of marketing vacancies, and they usually prefer engineers to take up that position because we can read manuals like bread and butter, right? We love manuals, we love technical documents, we can read them, we can understand them, and we can explain them to somebody else. And that was the perfect choice for a company like this. But what I wanted to do was something different. So they offered me that job, but I did not want to take it up because I realized that that was not the thing that I wanted to do. So I started negotiating, and we both came into a compromise where my job description involves a certain amount of technical things for me to deal with while learning about the machines and dealing with all these hospitals and everything. So when you go to an interview, always, not at the very first one, but at least at the second or third one, try to negotiate yourself, try to focus or try to negotiate yourself into the position that you want. It's a possibility if you know how to do it. And how do we do that? How do you negotiate? Yes. Ms. Marley is looking at that. Last point, communication. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the thing that you need to realize is that we can have the perfect academic script, we can have the perfect CV, but the person who is interviewing us is not a robot, not a computer. He's a machine, he's not a machine, he's a human being with emotions, feelings. So, if you can communicate your ideas clearly and efficiently, you might stand a higher chance than the rest of your competitors. You know, in my case, in my first job, I had around 3 interviews, I guess. So I got through all this general first and second round. And as the final interview, what I had to do was, I had to do a presentation on a medical device in front of the CEO, the chairman, and the head of HR and the head of technical of that company. Now this was one of the largest medical device import and distribution companies in Sri Lanka. This is a $1 billion company, so $1 million company. And the chairman was looking, chairman has no business of being interviewing someone like me, but for some reason he did. And I believe that I got the job, not because my CV was perfect, but because of the presentation. I have done my fair share of volunteering during the university, IEEE, ISEC, and all those things. So I'm pretty okay with presentations. And I believe to this day, most of the opportunities that I got it because I worked on my communication skills. In biomedical engineering, as I said earlier, it's a multidisciplinary subject. You get to deal with a lot of people. You get to deal with angry nurses, you get to deal with angry doctors, biomedical engineers, a lot of people from different backgrounds. So you might have the perfect technical knowledge, you might know what's wrong, you might have brilliant ideas, but if you cannot convey them, or if you cannot convince that other person, there's no point, right? You might lag behind, they might not recognize you. So try to improve on these skills primarily for the interviews, right? As I have 2 more tips to share during this session. I have like 10 minutes, I guess. So, search and learn. This applies whether you are in the university, whether you are out of the university, whether you are doing a job, whether you are not doing a job. Always try to learn. Now, a couple of days back, again, I met a young lady, and she happens to be a science student, an undergraduate again, and me and her got to talking. And I figured out that she was trying to figure out how these electronics behave when they were implanted inside our body, how the physics of it works out. And currently, she was doing an internship in quantum computing right here in Sri Lanka. Now, we are currently being at the age of AI, right? So what's the next stage? What's the next big thing? Quantum computing, because the current hardware is not capable of handling the AI system that we have. So most likely the next big thing is going to be quantum computing. So that lady was actively searching and actively looking out for future and getting the relevant experience to herself to being future-proof. So you have to always do this, whether you are still doing a job or not. You have to always almost do it, because as far as I'm aware, the curriculum that you are getting at the university, at this department, is pretty good, comprehensive, but fundamental. But when it comes to industry, or when it comes to higher education, you might need to equip yourself with new knowledge, cutting edge knowledge. So actively look out for these things. If you think that you want to learn about AI in medical devices, there are courses that offers these things. If you think that you want to learn about active prosthetics or passive prosthetics in medical devices, there are internships that's out there that will teach you these things. So these are a couple of things that you can look for, like short courses offered by university. I did one such thing, for an example, in University of Moratuwa, Department of Electronics and Electrical Engineering, Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering. The name is SkillSurf. They have a couple of really good courses, 10 weeks programs. Of course, you have to pay, but as students, you get a discount, which I did not get. So you can do things like that. And then there are external degree programs, then there are online degrees, and then there are certifications. Now, when it comes to things like mechanical engineering, they have these clear-cut certification courses. For an example, things that are offered by companies like large-scale companies like Siemens. They have certified courses. But when it comes to biomedical engineering, there is no such thing. Even though it is a very highly regulated industry, most of the time these courses are being offered if you are actually a part of a distributor or a manufacturer. So when you get into a company, sometimes they might offer you extensive training programs, because without the training, they won't allow you even to touch the machine. Now when it comes to, I'm just telling you something, so when it comes to MRI machines, Philips MRI machines specifically, and almost all the other MRI machines as well, whenever there is a breakdown, for an example, there is a coolant chamber where you have to cool that MRI coil always, because it's getting superheated during the process. So whenever there is a coolant leak or whenever there is a breakdown, you always have to get somebody down from India, because our people did not have that expertise or has not undergone that training. So when you get into a job, you might be able to certify yourself, go into a foreign country, get trained there and certify yourself, so you will be able to work anywhere in the world with that kind of a certification. Right. Now the next and the final tip that I have to share is network. Now it's really important that you connect with like-minded people, similar-minded people, and grow your network when you go into the industry or when you go into academia. It doesn't matter. At some point, this network might become very important to you. And as undergraduates, there are ways for you to grow your network. For an example, the very organization that's hosting this session today, IEEE. Now we have a gentleman from IAS, right? Okay. Do you know what's the arm of IEEE that's doing things related to biomedical engineering? I mean, obviously IEEE has to have something like that, a technical chapter. Does anyone here knows that what is the technical chapter's name in IEEE which deals with biomedical engineering? Come on, guys. Anyone does not know? Nobody knows? Really? Yes. EMBS. IEEE EMBS, Engineering in Medicine and Biological Sciences. So, I happen to be the current vice chair of IEEE EMBS Sri Lanka chapter. And we are doing a lot of things. And recently we did a residential, for the first time, residential 2 days boot camp in Kukuleganga for biomedical engineering undergraduates. And we had delegates from all over the Sri Lanka, University of Moratuwa, Slate, Japura, IIT, University of Waimea, University of Jaffna. But I was a little heartbroken because no one from my own university on my own faculty was there, even though I'm the vice chair. So that's one of the reasons I decided to drive all the way from Colombo to Kandy to convince you guys to do these things. Engage with these people. Because for me, the lady that I told you about, the one who does quantum computing, and the gentleman who works as an engineer in effective solutions as an undergraduate, both of them I met during this particular workshop. Even for me, somebody like me, those two are contacts, right? For you guys, your network might grow 10-fold, 20-fold by attending this kind of a thing. So always look for these opportunities, because sometimes when you climb up in the ladder in corporate career, these contacts might come really handy at some point, because in the first few years you don't really need those things. But when you become a manager, when you become a senior executive, when you are aiming for the C-suite executives, CEO, chairman, all the names that starts with C, these networks are your backbone. Not your technical expertise, not what you have accomplished. Most of the times we deal with people and they hate time. For me, a couple of years back, I was in between jobs, and one day I got a call, and the person on the other side, he called me, Dhananjay, I need you. I need you to do this thing. I need you to find new technologies to our company. And this gentleman, he was none other than the very chairman that I was interviewing on my first job. For some reason, he has remembered my name and he has been keeping eye on me, and that's how I became a consultant at Technomedics International. So that was not a formal interview, there was no such thing. He simply gave me a call and he offered me a job. So that's how things work when you go up in the ladder, right? Okay, so that's all the things that I want to share today. So find your purpose, align your path according to your purpose, and look for all the opportunities out there. Actively look for all the opportunities. Never stops learning. Thank you. Over to you.
So guys, if anyone has questions, you can raise your hand. So basically the rest is up to you guys, okay? So I think Dhananjay actually did a wonderful job here. So he said what to do, right, for you guys. So I think that actually opens a lot of doors. So it is your decision whether you are going to push the door or you are going to just stand there. Okay. So Mr. Dhananjay, very thank you to you, and
It's a pleasure to be here.
driving all the way from Colombo to Gandhi. Yeah. So thank you.
All right. I'll just hang around for a few minutes. So if you do have any private questions that you doesn't want anyone others to know, just let me know.
And now for the present with the vote of thanks, may I invite Ms. Manoli Karunarajan, the Secretary of Biomedical Industrial Automation Society.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of IEEE IAS Student Chapter of our University, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to Mr. Dhananjay for being here with us today. We truly appreciate you coming all the way to our faculty and sharing your experiences and knowledge on the field of biomedical engineering with us today. Your talk was very inspiring and informative. I'm sure that all of us got a better understanding about the field of biomedical engineering. And also, I would like to thank Professor Mr. Hera, head of our department, for his valuable time today. And also, I would like to thank Professor Irata Sandasekara, who's the dean of our faculty and also the senior treasurer of our society, for his support and guidance through these events. And also I would like to thank the Gage newsletter team for covering the session today. And my special thank goes to